love, arguing a bit, because that seems to be what they do. They argue, and then they get electrocuted and they get knocked out. Next up, we've got America and Clint Hawkeye in the Hall of Mirrors, and Satana steps out from two of the mirrors and kisses each of them and knocks them out. Fuse and his sister argue about Fuse dating, or about her dating America, and then Ninja Stars hit Fuse, are able to knock him out, and then they also go. There's also one that goes explodey. Then Kate's mom shows up. And Kate kind of says in her monologue, if this is a trick, someone's going to die. But if it's real, well, is it real? And that's that. So the team has been divided up throughout the park. I was honestly expecting some bumper car action, but oh well, I'll live without it. Next up, we got Old Man Hawkeye, number 11. Where we left off, Hawkeye had made it to the Great White North and found the Weapon X bunker that Baron Zemo was operating out of. Anyways, so they break in. However, it's a trap for Clint, and Kate is left in the cold and has to find her own way in, and so Clint is directed down a certain way and runs into basically a Hydra cap, right down to having his own shield. Kate broke into the sewers and made her way through, and turns out that this Hydra cap is hopped up on some form of suicidal serum that increases anger and whatnot, and yeah, taking an arrow doesn't do much for him. His shield appears to be razor sharp, and he throws it, misses Hawkeye, but hits and kills one of the Hydra guards. Punches the shit out of Hawkeye. And Kate walks around the offices, getting some information, knocks out a couple of the guards watching, and cuts the power. One of the scientists runs up to Clint and hands him a syringe, saying, telling him to use it. He injects the guy with it, and his head explodes, which does not make Avalanche a happy camper. Also, Hawkeye and the scientist are gone. We briefly see Bullseye as he arrives. Clint, the scientist, and Kate get back together. Turns out that the project that Red Skull was doing up there is finished, and they're going to execute all the scientists so no one else can replicate it. And so we got to get them all out of here. Clint's just like, no, I didn't come here to save anybody. I came here to kill Zemo. So she's like, fine, I'll do it myself. Clint gets to Zemo's quarters, breaks in, and turns out Zemo's all frail and fuckered up, and kind of pisses Clint off to actually, kill him. Apparently, Zemo had multiple strokes and is breathing through a tube. and he wants to know why leave Hawkeye alive. Well, apparently it's because of Hawkeye having stolen away the Thunderbolts from him way back when. Hawkeye still decides that mercy is not an option here, and basically turns Zemo into a pincushion. Then Avalanche shows up and starts beating on Hawkeye and turns him blind. He has speed powers too? What kind of crap is that? Anyways, next issue is the final issue of Old Man Hawkeye, when we're finally going to get Bullseye versus Hawkeye. It's one of those. I don't want it to end, but I do want to see that fight. Next up, we've got Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider #2, and it's kind of a Spider-Geddon tie-in in the fact that this is going on while Spider-Geddon's going on, and when Spider-Gwen appeared in Spider-Geddon, shit hit the fan. She ended up tossed into the multiverse and popped out into a different Earth she'd never been on. So, her and Peter talk a bit. Peter explains the history of everything. Apparently, on this Earth, Peter and Gwen were interns at Oscorp. They both got in. Peter was studying compounds of spider venom, looking for a cure for the cancer that killed his Uncle Ben. Gwen was joining a research team dedicated to advancing the biotechnological sciences. A modified spider bit Harry Osborn, however. Changed him. And so the two of them, plus Mary Jane Watson, all got together and they were basically Harry's support network. Gwen decided to go even further and made herself into the Green Goblin, who was a fellow hero and basically worked alongside Harry. But eventually there was a threat that was too big. Turned out it was Sandman. And she threw one of her pumpkin bombs and it landed and it killed her father. And they both, Spider-Man died under the rubble, or under Sandman. Gwen, however, she just became the Goblin. And so, but they were also saying that, yeah, what Peter explains that if anyone can help Gwen fix her dimensional travel device, it's their Gwen. And so they're trying to figure things out, and Mary Jane is not that happy to see Spider-Gwen, because it's kind of a reminder of how they fucked up to them. Then we get a lot of... We see Harry's grave. But Gwen's kind of thinking about things, and it's like, all I gotta do is save, she's gotta do is save this world's Gwen Stacy. But what if there's nothing left to save? Alright. It's kind of an interesting take on things. Gwen as the Goblin. Next up, we've got Arachnite #2 of 2. So, last issue we had the big reveal that Norman Osborn, the father of Arachnite's best friend, Harry Osborn, Norman Russell, the best friend of Peter Parker's best friend, Harry Russell, is in fact the monster who killed Peter's aunt and uncle. So, Arachnite investigates Norman Russell's brownstone. Pissed off at Harry. All the various personalities are chiming in. Meanwhile, Harry has taken Norman to the office building, the sub-base where all the failed prototypes, failed experiments, abandoned prototypes there are. Including turns out that, and so Harry pulls the shuriken out of his father, and he attacks. And so Norman goblins out and attacks Harry, bites him and leaves him there, and he thinks he remembers where everything changed when he found his father goblined out and tries to help him. Meanwhile, MJ runs into Peter and is like, okay, so it turns out that the people he was supposed to going to meet with are not happy with Peter. But he got into a car accident, but he's fine. He's fine, And but apparently Goblin is here. And one of the businessmen is like, what are you talking about? And then, of course, Goblin bursts into the meeting room and they duke it out. And while they're fighting, Harry shows up on the glider, tries to save the day from both ends. But then Harry goblins out. Norman explains that he must have passed the curse on to Harry. And so now, but Peter figures that now him and Norman can work together to save Harry. And that's where the issue ends. Next up, we've got Weapon Hex, number 2. So, at the end of the last issue, we discovered that Weapon Hex has a sister. And she passes. Her and Bobble. She runs into Bobble, and who explains that this is tells Laura this is her sister, Gavril. Gavril wants to be called Speed Weasel. She pops her one claw, and she's got speed powers as well. Oh, she is so Gabby. But, of course, the Professor and Hellhound go to stop them, and Hellhound and Weapon X duke it out. And, oof. That's... I can definitely understand thinking you won that fight. Seeing as how Weapon Hex is dismembered. But using it a spell was called Hectual Healing, she managed to recall her limbs and put herself back together. Meanwhile, the professor's trying to raid Mephichathon. Ah, God. Offering up Gabriel as a vessel. Laura uses a hex ray on Hellhound and destroys her, seemingly destroys her. And a bolt of hell, the spell Hellstorm is then used on Laura, and she's turned into a pile of ash. But she managed to pull herself out of it, back together out of it, and to escape. Mephichathon leaves. And the ghosts of all those killed, or the spirits of those who died for Professor's madness, are now there to destroy him. And oh boy, do they. As the castle is starting to fall apart, though, the two leave. And Gabriel asks Laura, "What now?" And Laura explains that she doesn't know, but she knows it doesn't happen here. And Gabriel is extremely pleased to be sisters. Next up, we've got Infinity Warps, number 2. We start off with Forever Bushman, combination of For Bushman and Eternity. Kind of sets up the stage. It sets the stage with some rather amusing puns, actually. But then we get into the story of Kamala Kang. Normal girl until one night she was caught in a chronogen storm of a faulty protection suit. The chronogen mist warped her mind and body, giving her the ability to embiggen her cosmic perspective. She uses these powers to stretch through space and time. Her adventures bring her to the early 20th century today. She sees Dr. Francis Eccleston and comments that that's who he is. Then a truck hits him. So she now has to go back and stop that from happening. But the truck still crashes and kills her dad. Her dad at a young age. Basically before she's born. And now Kamalas are coming from all over the place, just like the Kangs usually do. Next up, we've got the Punisher Pack. Turns out one of the Snarks was mad that, or basically the Power Pack was. The Punisher Pack are the children of scientists who were killed by the Snark-Nucci crime syndicate. We see the kids just brutalizing the Snark-Nuccis. It's being, and Linus is planning everything. But it turns out also the Snark-Nucci's killed his family. But hey, he's like, hey, you killed the Snark-Nuccis, so, normal life, right? But the kids are like, no. There are still people who need punishing. So they go out. And Linus says the Punisher pack was his responsibility. Now it's his responsibility to stop them. Next up, we've got Diamond Patch. So, okay, we get three separate things going on at the same. We get three different story threads. One is Diamond Patch giving a. This is Logan Frost giving I don't want to call it TED Talk, but a motivational speech. Next is Crime Boss. The Crime Boss aspect, talking to some of his boys. Sorry about that. And then we have him talking to a lovely lady at a bar. At the bar, turns out that the criminal he's talking to can belch fire. The woman is a big fan of his work, and well, the inspirational talk is kind of just going through who he is, what he's all about. But then we get two shots. One of him attacking the young lady up on the top of the building, and she turns out to be Lady Mystique, a combination of Mystique and Lady Deathstrike. Then we see him also cutting the Dragon King flunky. After the inspirational chat with a talk is when the young lady approached him. Then as she's being thrown out of the building, I can't tell who this is supposed to be, but it's Phoenix worked with someone, and I can't tell who. But she's got a mechanical bird she can fly on, which is kind of neat looking. And it turns out that the Dragon King flunky is on the level. Then we get another bit with Forever Bushman making more rather amusing puns. And of course ending things with Excelsior. Okay, now we got something new to bring in. So for the next few months, Marvel is going to be doing a series of Star Wars one-shots called Age of Republic, kicking things off with Qui-Gon Jinn. Anyway, so then we start off on the planet Bryn. Qui-Gon is protecting Mistress Thair. As soon as surrounded, but young Obi-Wan has brought in the ship to say they get aboard. Thair is pissed because they've abandoned the trees to the Metal Clan. Though Qui-Gon explains that, says that by the laws of Britain and by their own mission, they need her word or her blood to harm a single leaf. Anyways, they go back to Coruscant. Of course, Mistress Thair is pissed. City of metal. And who would have thought that the Jedi were such cowards? I thought they were supposed to be great warriors. This actually kind of not being called a coward, but a great warrior kind of stings Qui-Gon a little bit. And so him and Yoda chat a bit. And Yoda says, maybe you need a deeper understanding. So he hops in a starfighter and sets in a course and just goes. He ends up on the planet listed as being charted long ago, but not considered important enough to have a designation. No evidence of technology, but an abundance of life. But the dark side is spreading here. There's a corruption, and it's spreading. So he wonders, was he brought here to stop it or to learn from it? And he meditates on it. Visions himself fighting things from the trees, and then then they turn into his friends, and then he's turning into one himself. And so he finds Mistress there, and explains that as the Metal Clan has recruited powerful off-world allies to their cause, she must do the same. And she, of course, outsiders are stripped by the world of everything of value. And he responds with, enriching her people does not have to mean destroying their way of life, not if you can find balance, compromise. And then Qui-Gon catches back up with Yoda, and they talk a bit. It says, what is our purpose if not balance? So anyways, the rest of next up we've got Darth Maul, then Obi-Wan, then Jango Fett, then a special. Damn it, I was full. But yeah, that's going to be a thing for the next, I think through February is one of the last. Anyways, that is it for the last 2 weeks haul of damn it. That is it for this week's haul of comics and last week's. As always, remember to like, share, subscribe. Links to Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon down below. Robert Rossbach signing off. Live long, rock hard.